Guys, I'm going to be honest right now. I don't even know if I can get through this video. Because, to be 100% truthful, I'm having a very angry day. Maybe if I move, I can get my head straight. I just want to briefly tell you guys what's going on. Obviously, I am grieving. And it's because Teddy passed away April 22nd. And if you're new to this channel, please go back and watch some of my previous videos because I would love for you guys to know Teddy. He is really the whole reason that I started this channel. And it's basically dedicated to him and all of the things that he taught me on how to take care of certain health issues, the health issues that he had. And he passed away from heart failure. He was officially diagnosed with mitral valve disease 8 years ago. And I am very thankful that we were able to keep him healthy for such a long period of time. If you're not familiar with heart failure, there are stages of heart failure, and I would say he was in what's known as stage 2 or stage B for those 8 years. So he had clinical symptoms, but they were very well managed with just a low dose medication, and also dietary changes and exercise changes and those things like that. But I mean, if heart failure is a progressive disease, and eventually it took him away, and it happened very quickly. His decline, it was just overnight one night. I think that he had a stroke, and his lungs quickly filled up with fluid, and I did not want to pursue any kind of emergency visits to drain the fluid or anything like that. He was 17 years old. He was deaf. He was dealing with some cognitive issues, and actually because of what I think was a stroke, I think he lost his vision. And I didn't want to pursue that because it would be extremely, extremely stressful for him, and I would never want to put him through that. So that's what happened to my Teddy. And approximately 4 months before that, we also lost our dog Gus, who was our rescue Saint Bernard, to osteosarcoma. So this year has not been a great one. He passed away on January 1st. And yeah, just a lot this year. So I just want to tell you guys what I'm doing just to try to get through. I don't have all the answers, but hopefully you get something out of this video. Because ultimately, that's how I honor Teddy's life, Gus's life, Bettis's life. If you're not familiar with Bettis, I made a video a couple years ago about his passing. That's how I honor their lives, is by sharing the information that they taught me and passing it on. So that's really what this channel is about. So number one is really, I didn't have any problems with this, I'll be honest. I'm the type of person who's very in tune emotionally, and I really don't care what other people think, whether or not they agree with my grieving process or, the depth of my grief. I don't care. I know what I feel, and I accept it. But if you don't, I'm telling you that you should. Not every animal that we care for throughout our lives will be loved like a child, but there are some that are. Teddy, I loved like a child. 100% through and through. That was my baby. And I don't have human children to relate that to. And that's a common argument I hear. And here's how I'm going to dispute that argument. Is that, again, not every animal, dog, whatever, that we care for will be loved like a child. And at the same time, not every human child is loved to the degree that I loved my Teddy. And I've told this story to 2 different people now, and I'd like to share it with you just very quickly. I have known personally a woman who had a child. The little boy was about 6 years old, and she was married, had a husband. She decided to up and leave her family because she did not love them and she wanted out of that life. So please don't tell me that I don't understand what it's like to love a child, because only I know what my relationship was, and only you know what your relationship was with your animal. And no one else understands it, truly. It's just impossible. Even down to, if we looked at it through a more scientific lens, if you put electrodes on my brain and put electrodes on the brain of a mom to human children and showed us pictures of our babies, you probably would not be able to tell the difference of who was seeing what picture. You know, let's just look at it like that. So if you did love your animal like a child, accept that that's okay, that's normal. And the loss of a child is one of the greatest losses that one can experience. The only, I would say, caveat to that statement is that we expect our animal children to die. Whereas most people, when they have human children, the expectation of life is much, much longer, and a parent expects to outlive their human child. And that expectation is important because when that loss occurs, it can be very traumatic. So I will say that in my mind would be the only difference as to the grief and the trauma that one experiences is the expectation of life. And, you know, we know that there is a high expectation, or there's a high probability, I should say, that we will outlive our animal children. And it's the reverse for human children. So that's that. Accept your love, accept what you've got going on. And honestly, some of the best resources for grief when sorry, my finger was on the phone. Some of the best resources for dealing with grief, if it's very traumatic, are articles, books, videos made for human child loss. I found that to be a little more helpful. So yeah, that's that. Second thing I want to say is give yourself space and time to grieve. And that length of time might be different for everybody. I took 2 weeks off of work, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I own my own business. I've worked very hard at building up a business, a lifestyle that would allow me to take that time off when I needed it. and I needed it, and so I took it, and I don't regret it. A lot of people were upset with me, and I don't care, to be blunt. This is not about them. It's about me being okay and dealing with what happened. So if you're able to take time off work, do it. It's very healthy for you. You can't constantly avoid grief. We can't constantly be running and trying to fill our days with meaningless activities like shopping and, I don't know, taking trips. Like, you have to make time to be with your grief, to be with the sadness. It's a part of the process, and as painful as it is, it's 100% necessary. So take time. You have to. Once you've taken that time and you've gotten through the immediate crushing reality, that they're gone, and you've grieved that, start to find ways to honor their life and memorialize them. Those are very healthy ways to pull you out of sadness and to get you to remember the good times. So if you've had your animal cremated, try to create a beautiful memorial utilizing their urn or their ashes. If you've buried them, create a beautiful burial site for them. Find a way to display their collar or their food bowl in a nice way. Something that when you look at it, even though it's sad, it's still going to be sad. But when you look at it, you feel a sense of respect, I guess would be a good word. Like, when you look at it, it just feels right. It feels like you're honoring them. And I think that's important. I've talked about this in my video when we lost Bettis. For me, the therapeutic effects of journaling have been really profound. And I bought myself a really pretty leather-bound journal and a nice writing pen. And I write to Teddy. I'm currently writing his life story because I don't want to forget anything. And I'm just taking my time. Sometimes I'm not able to write every day. We've got too much to do, busy around here, whatever. But it's been almost every day that I've written a page or two. And it gives me some peace that I won't forget the important details. And if you've ever experienced grief before, you'll understand what I'm saying about that fear of forgetting. A lot of people go through that. And the way that you don't forget is to write things down. Or maybe you're not a writer. Maybe you just like to speak your words. And filming videos, like maybe not YouTube videos, but just personal videos of you just talking and telling your story would be helpful. Drawing pictures, painting, creating. It's about being creative in their honor, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And whatever that means to you, do it, because it's very helpful. I'll be honest, pet loss, sometimes it is not helpful to talk to people about it. I wish that it was. I've reached out for a therapy consultation and told the therapist what was going on. I apologize. My dogs are barking. And they never got back to me. And granted, maybe they never saw my email. I don't know. But I was just really raw emotionally. And at the time, I took it as, well, they don't care about me. My grief isn't valid. So screw them. In hindsight, sure, maybe it was just, an oversight on their part. But regular therapists, sometimes I just feel like they're not even trained to deal with pet loss. There are pet loss therapists out there. But I will say this, and not a lot of people talk about this, even those individuals will sometimes steer you away from accepting or believing that your loss is on the same par, on the same level as a human child. I'm not okay with that. My grief is valid. My sadness is valid. Like, don't try to tell me otherwise. I'm not going to hear you. So it's been difficult finding people to talk to. The 2 people, I should say 3 people I've spoken to that have been helpful. Number 1, my husband. He loves animals. Maybe not quite as much as I do, but pretty darn close. He has been my rock. He is my shoulder to cry on. And thank goodness for him. He's understanding. He's understanding when I'm having an angry day, when I'm having a sad day. He's supportive when I'm having a good day. Without him, I don't know what I'd do. I have a friend who also loves animals. I would say pretty darn close to as much as I do. And she was very respectful and receptive to our conversation, and that was really nice too. And also one of my sisters was very sweet when we spoke. But it's limited, you're not getting the crowd of support that people get when a person passes away. That's just the reality of it. Which, again, circling back to, this is why I wanted to make this video, for people just to know that you are not alone in how you feel. I feel it. I'm with you. I'm feeling it now. And I am muddling through to the best of my ability. So I guess that kind of sets me up for really one of my last points is you have to make time for the grief. I said that. You take your time off work, you sit with it, you be with it, you experience it. But it is also healthy and helpful to try to distract yourself by staying busy. We have a very small farm, homestead, whatever you want to call it. And really my saving grace and pulling me out is, these animals depend on me. If I don't feed them, they're going to die, Feeling needed is very helpful when you're feeling very low and depressed. Let me say that again. Feeling needed is very helpful when you're feeling low and depressed. Having a purpose in life can be the thing that really pulls you out when you're way down there. And for me, that's the animals that depend on me. So, for example, the morning that Teddy passed away, I had to milk my goat when we got home. Had to. You can't, if you have dairy animals, you know what I'm saying. Like, you cannot not milk. Why? Because they'll get extremely engorged. They could get mastitis. It's very painful and uncomfortable for them. It can legitimately make them very sick. I had to do it. But like in that moment, as I'm doing it, I did have the thought, I'm like, this is what's going to get me through. Like, having a reason to wake up in the morning, and I'm very sorry. If you don't have that, I feel for you. I sincerely feel for you. And my best advice is find something. You have to find something to keep on fighting for. And if you love animals, I would guess that that thing has something to do with animals. So maybe you volunteer at a shelter, maybe you become a dog walker. Yes, I know it's going to be painful to be around dogs if you just lost a dog. You gotta find something. So consider it. That's all I'm saying. Consider it. I did mention, kind of staying away from shopping and things like that, sort of those meaningless activities. And I don't want to say that shopping is bad, like if shopping means spending time with a loved one and you're going out together and, laughing and having a good afternoon, yeah, do it. Absolutely. That's good for you. But if it means, spending a lot of money that maybe you don't have just to sort of mask those feelings, then that's probably not a good idea. Another thing I've been doing that I feel is positive is gardening. Getting my hands in the dirt, doing those types of activities that aren't necessarily technical, but they require effort. They're sort of those activities. It's like painting a wall, it's meaningless, but yet it's not. It's meaningless, but yet it has so much meaning. It's been really, really good for me. I've been weeding like a mad woman, which my garden needed it anyway. And I've been getting out pretty regularly and weeding and thinking about what plants I want to add, and where, and it's been good. Also brush cutting around the pasture, just being out in nature. I mean, everybody knows being out in nature, it's one of the best things you can do. I want to close with this because this is also extremely important, and that is knowing when to seek out medical help, which may or may not include medication. I have always been, with my friends and family, very open about the fact that I am on anti-anxiety medication, and that medication also assists with depression, and it's called Lexapro. I have no issues being, like I said, 100% honest about that. I think mental health is extremely important in this country, and if you are struggling to the point that it's affecting your ability to get through your day, it's okay to pursue medications, medical help, therapy, etc. And I was already taking Lexapro, and for me to be able to go back to work and not cry or have these extreme drops in my mood or become very angry, I had to up my dose. And it's been very helpful. It sort of levels you out so that you don't have these extremes in your mood. It's good, but it's also bad because there are moments where I want to feel, and the medication it does sort of prevent you from becoming emotional. So I only take it on the days, I only take the higher dose, I should say, on the days where I'm going to work and I need to be professional. And on my days off, I take either my normal dose, which is half a pill, or sometimes I will skip a dose entirely. And that has all been approved by my doctor, by the way. So I'm allowed to, with her permission, adjust as necessary according to how I'm feeling and what I need to accomplish that day. So that's something to bring up to your doctor too. If you're pursuing medication, you feel that you need it, speak to them about what kind of control, I guess maybe is the word to use, do I have in how much medication do I take per day. With Lexapro, taking more will kind of level you out more, so taking less will allow you to feel more. So sometimes variability is good, sometimes it's not. So just be very transparent when you're having your conversation with your doctor about how you feel the degree of your emotions, when you feel them, what is triggering you, so that you guys can best decide, okay, you should be taking X amount on this day, maybe a little less on this day. Maybe you need to add in a different medication, whatever. Don't think that just because a medication didn't work for you that you should just throw it all in the toilet. Medications can be extremely helpful. You just have to find the one that works for you. And eventually, you may not need it anymore. I will probably not have to take a higher dose of medication down the road. I will go back to my normal dose. But for now, I'm going to stick with it because it's getting me through and it's what I need. So I actually did a lot better on this video than I thought I would. I was really just like super triggered and emotional when I began, but I found a quiet spot and was able to get my thoughts out. So I hope that you found this video helpful. I want to say this, and please, 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 please don't think that I am trying to monetize Teddy in any way, but if you would kindly consider subscribing to my channel. This channel was dedicated to Teddy, and I find it therapeutic to share the information that I learned. I want to make videos about how I dealt with his heart failure, how, just 8 years. 8 years, he did really, really well up until the very end. I want to make a video on our journey with osteosarcoma with Gus. I think that stuff is so important because the information is just not out there. So if you would consider helping me to honor my babies by subscribing to this channel, and then even if the information isn't pertinent to you, I bet that you know somebody who would find it helpful. And really that's my goal, is just sharing the information, getting it out there, helping people, and that's how we honor the ones we've lost. So I'll see you in the next video.